passed away a little over a week ago, and he was a ray of light and joy to this congregation in so many ways. And so we wanted to do something special here within the walls of this church and within this community of faith, and we wanted you all to be a part of it because it's so important for us to see, for you all to see how much Jason was loved by this church. From the moment Jason walked in every Sunday morning, his smile just radiated. And he meant so much to us, and we want to celebrate his life today. So we want you to know that you are welcome in this house of faith and in our community of faith. And Jason was too, and he's still here with us today, celebrating every step of the way. We're going to begin by singing a hymn that is This Is the Day, which is number 657 in your red hymnal, which should be under your pew. So let's rise and sing together. We want to be clear, we are going to have a time of storytelling and a time to share our stories. When this part of our service ends, we're going to dismiss and go over to Community Hall, and we invite you to stay as long as your heart desires. Just turn out the lights, because I will probably go home at some point. So it is just a joy to have all of y'all here, and we have 4 speakers who are going to speak today, and so I want to invite Tracy up. Yeah. No, I'm hoping it's you.
You have a virtual audience, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Hello, I'm Tracy, and Jason lived with me for a long time.
Oh. You got to speak right into it.
All right, thank you. So I had the privilege of living with Jason for many years, and what a friend he was to me, and I'm sure to each of you. And I wanted to share because I was driving to Tulsa the other day, and I was listening to an audio about Westwood Giraffes, if you haven't heard it. Fabulous. But in the end, he says, really it's about stories. We are stories. And so I thought to myself, really I should come to St. Stephen's and tell you, you heard earlier that he was dragged to church, and that was true. Jason was afraid to come here. He was afraid to come to church. And to think about Jason having fear of anything was hard to think about, but really hard to see. And almost every night he sobbed on the couch. Every single night he would cry. And I was like, Jason, there is a church for you. There is a congregation for you. You are wanted, and you are important, and you are loved. And I want you to just come one time to church. No, to choir practice. So one Wednesday night, we dragged him to choir practice. And he came in, and he was scared to even come to the door. And here comes Jane Thomas. Oh, just love Jane. And Jane was so sweet, and she was so glad that Jason was here. And here comes Sharon. And then here comes Pat and David and Joe and everybody from the tenors. right? And then the rest of the choir, and people were so sweet to him. And David would sing in Jason's ear because Jason couldn't read music. And so he would sing in Jason's ear and kind of help him out a little bit. And, you know, for some of us, it's easy to go to choir practice. You go, the music's not usually that difficult. You sing your part, you go home. Well, for Jason, he was nervous and he was afraid to come. And so David would sing in his ear, and everybody would give him all those big hugs. And then he joined the Hammondale choir, and then he was getting a little bit like, we're like, Jason, honey, you tipped the scale here. But he loved coming here, and he loved the feeling that you gave him. And I think that's what St. Stephen's is. And today we were asked to go to the funeral home and to take our whole entire congregation over there. And one of the things that Julie Sondag said so well was, you know, this church is its people. The church is not really a building. And, you know, I thought that was such an important thing to say and to remember. And I don't know, sometimes I thought Jason was all for me. And then all of a sudden I'd look around and I would see how much he could love you. And then I remembered, you know what, that's who Jason is. That love goes forth. And his love was for me. But it's also for you and for you and for you and for you. And I feel like all day today I've looked around and been like, you know what, no matter what's going on in your life, you're not alone. And there's some people here that I know really need to hear that. And if you're tipped a little to the wayside side, please reach out, because we love you. And you're never alone, but you're never, particularly not alone here at St. Stephen's. I don't even think these people would even know what to do with that. So I wanted to really say thank you to this church. And there are some people here that have just been wonderful. And, you know, when Jason got home from that choir rehearsal and he sat in the car for another hour practicing the music. And every single Wednesday night, we'd all go home from choir and I'd go inside and start fixing dinner. I'm like, where's Jason? Catherine's like, he doesn't want you to know where he is. Where is he? He was rehearsing in the car because he wanted to show up the next week and know how to sing the song full voice in Jason's style. And another thing that happened here that was so important, you know, Amy Venable, don't we all just love Amy? She was like light, but not light, authentic and real and just so great. And she's going to meet you right where you are. And she did that. She met Jason right where he was. And she walking right on in here and she's like, honey, let's go. You're here now and you're with me. And that was important for Jason. And she's done that for many people here. She did that a lot. And so we're thankful for Amy. We're thankful for this church. This church has met me and Catherine at our neediest. And it's been here for us in countless ways. We haven't been here in a few years, you know. Last week, we were sitting over there, and Catherine said, well, you know, Jason's going to be interned in the courtyard over there, so we're going to have to sit over here. And what I think I heard her say was that we'll be back.
I know she's, oh, there she is. Tarina, I want you to come up and say a few words. So, or as many as you want. So.
Let's see if I can get through this. I'm Jason's oldest female cousin. He was
How's that?
I was a female cousin, and most of our cousins are right here. Some on the back. We all grew up together. We were very close. As adults, we haven't been so much, but Jason was just an annoyance to me because I'm so much older than him. He was little. But he was sweet. He was always, when he left this world, it's exactly how he came in. He was just the sweetest kid. But as adults, we became very close, especially when he came out. And he decided to come out because we have two others in our family that, as teenagers, were brave enough to do the same. And when he realized that there is some of this family that will accept him, and we did. And it just grew from there. And I was his Dr. Bill. And we had a lot of tears and a lot of laughs. But with that, I wrote a poem for him. I haven't named it yet, I haven't titled it, but here it is. Bear with me. I stand here today with memories so dear of my cousin Jason, forever near. In times of darkness, your light did shine, a beacon of hope when eyes were so blind. Your laughter echoed like a melody sweet. In the face of adversity, you never knew defeat. Your love for life was a sight to behold, in every story that will never grow old. Oh, how I miss your warm embrace, your presence filled every space. In the realm where equality should prevail, your spirit rises above discrimination's well. Your inner beauty radiates from above, a reminder to cherish and appreciate love. Though you left us too soon in death's cold snare, your courage and joyfulness will always be there. Farewell, dear cousin, know you are adored. In our hearts, your memory is forever stored. I want to thank Catherine and Jesse and the church because they've been amazing in making this a little bit easier. Thank you.
There was a great danger and a fear that overcame me when we said we're going to allow people at St. Stephen's to speak, because I thought, well, we may be here for weeks. So we settled it down, brought it down to one person. So I want to invite Rick Sondag up to say a few words. Don't give me that look like you need to know. Your wife volunteered you. So.
Well, there's not much I can really say because everybody who's in St. Stephen's knows how dear Jason has been to us, and I'm not going to go on some elaborate a speech about it. But I will say this: that I was here last week when the tragedy happened, and it just so happened my twin brother, who lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana, was visiting that weekend. He was here at church with us, and he witnessed everything happening, and it was very tragic. And I've relived it over and over again many times over this past week. And his name is Robbie, Ricky and Robbie. And so he and I were talking afterwards, and he said, when they took Jason out, the paramedics took him away, and he said, well, maybe a miracle will happen. I said, Robbie, the miracle already has happened. Jason was the miracle in our lives. He really was. And that's about all I can really say about him. He's been a miracle to us, and he always will be. And he's always had this kind of attitude I always admired in people. I'm going to do this. And my dad used to say this to me all the time, too. He said, you should go do this. You should help your mother. You should help this boy with his homework. You should help this guy with baseball. And I'd be like, oh, why? And I would say, because you can. And that's always been Jason's approach to things. He's going to be on this committee. He's going to help with this activity at the church. He's going to help with the youth. Why? Because he can. That's the only reason he needed, is because I can be of help, and I will be of help. So, like I said, I'm not going to talk forever. We all love him very much, and we will miss him. He's dear to us, but he's not gone. Thank you.
We want to invite Kay up to say a few words. Kay Holiday.
This will be brief because I won't be able to get through much. First of all, I want to acknowledge the collective pain that we all feel for the premature loss of this gentle, giant, loving, exceptional young man. Jason called me Mom. 2 years ago at Pea Flag Mormon. I see a lot of Pea Flag Mormon folks in the audience. It was a safe place where he could tell his story. And you know, he was a true social worker at heart. He not only loved to share his story because he knew it would help some other kid who happened to show up at Pea Flag who was going through the same thing Jason had gone through. I was drawn to his story. We immediately connected. I loved his conviction to share what he had experienced and hoping that somebody else's life would be better. And he did that. It was an honor to serve on the Pea Flag Mormon board with him. He was president, as you can imagine. You saw him be a leader. And he was a true servant leader. He didn't just run a meeting. He ran it with heart. He loved Pea Flag. He loved nothing better than to be in a community event, tabling, and sharing with anybody who would stop and listen about Pea Flag and what a difference it had made in his life. And the only story I have to share with you about Jason really is the moment when he asked me to dance at his wedding in place of his mom. So I danced the first dance with Jason, and it was ever etched in my brain that this young man was a true bonus son to me. I'll miss his hugs. You all got him. I'll miss his phone calls where he says, "Hey Mom, what are you doing? I've been missing you." Hours on that patio where Jason and I solved all the problems of the universe. His smile. I will miss hearing all the stories of the people he met in his new job, being the true social worker that he was. Everybody to whom he gave a driver's test. I'm sure he gave a little bit of advice or a connection. He loved that job, and he loved this church. Thank you for being the real home that Jason deserved. Rest well, my son. You lived more lives than many people do in a lifetime. You'll be sorely missed.
I'm not going to be babbling that. Hey, me again. I had some unfinished words I wanted to share. It was important to me to broadcast far and wide the message that I did when we were at the service. But I have a few more things that I particularly like to challenge the people that are here at church with, that were with him regularly, that loved him the way that he loved him. I feel weird with people. I'm used to it, just used to it. So, I meant every single solitary word that I said. Jason was special. When you met him and you spent time with him, you knew that he was special. And what I'd like to share a little bit about now is how special he was in spite of some of the things that he endured in his life. was raised with his mom and dad and brother Justin in a small home that was owned by the Pauls Valley School. His dad was a custodian for the school, and the family was heavily involved in the Jehovah's Witness religion. I can't call it faith, religion. You can imagine how well received a chubby poor kid involved in a non-mainstream religion was received by the other school kids. Everybody knew that his dad was a janitor. Everybody knew that his family lived in the house that the school provided. And he was in that weird religion. Hard start for a kid. From the time that he was 8 until he was 20, he knocked on doors 90 hours a month to hand out the Watchtower. Thankfully, they run out of money to print those, and you have to get it online now. I'm sure they're taking donations. And one time he wasn't doing that, he was at the hall. That's what the J-Dubs call their church, is the hall. He wasn't allowed to socialize outside of the church, not allowed to vote, drink, smoke, date outside of the faith, or generally anything that young people like to do. They didn't celebrate holidays or birthdays. They didn't believe in a lot of medical procedures like vaccines or giving blood. Imagine being wrapped in that kind of cocoon for 21 years. And in the blink of an eye, it was all done. Imagine being isolated from all the normal things that kids experience. Growing up and being forced to belong in a tightly controlled environment, knowing little else, and one day it was gone. It was gone because he came out. Okay, seriously, did people not know Jason okay? A long time ago? I'm not sure about that. He was tired of living a lie, and he was curious about the world. Me and Tracy and some rugby girls went down to Pauls Valley to help him move out of his house, because he had to leave that too. That was part of family land, and because he was excommunicated from the church and the family, he could no longer live in his home. In 2009, when Jason started living with me and Trace, he had never celebrated a birthday. So we had his first 6 birthday parties. I'm talking like Tonka toys, like the whole thing. Tracy's sweet mama gave him a pickle ornament for his first Christmas tree, because that's a traditional first Christmas tree gift. So Diana gave him that. We had his first 6 holidays. We took him with us everywhere we went. We took him to our friends, we took him to our families. Like, we were going to, Jason was going to celebrate all the things that people like to celebrate, and we weren't going to live in that anymore. We shared lots of firsts with him. We took him to his first musical. Can I tell you how many versions of Wicked that I personally know? I'm not the music girl, by the way. I know how to turn a radio on. That's my musical contribution to the world. So between Brandon, our godson that Jason helped steer, who sang every moment of every day, or if he wasn't singing, he was drumming, and Jason was singing Wicked. Peace. The week before he died, he was living in the upstairs part of our house. Okay, hello. I knew the prayer. I could have sang with him. Because I listened to it that many times with him singing, echoing through the house. But we took him to places like the Melting Pot. He'd never been to some place like that before. So we got to hear about his first date with a guy. I mean, he was ridiculous. Like, he couldn't sit down. Like, he was so excited, and he was so excited for the possibility that he was going to get to meet someone who was like him, and that it was okay. Like, I mean, I've been gay for a real long time. People knew about that when I was a little kid, and so some of the things that Jason had to overcome and he struggled with, it was in his 30s that it happened, and not in his teenage years and in his 20s. And so this bright new world that Jay was finding was, we had already all done that. And it was interesting to see it from the other direction. I told you guys earlier that Trace is the one that drove into St. Stephen's to choir, not to church. Brought him to choir. And then the church magic happened. He was scared and he was hesitant and he was emotional. But St. Stephen's worked its magic, and soon he was wrapped in the arms of the church, experiencing many other firsts, like being at a church where everyone was welcome, like being able to sing in public, which was something that he dreamed about, being a member of PFLAG, going to Pride. I didn't think we were all going to be okay after his first Pride experience. I mean, like, he talked about it for the whole year until next Pride. And watching him get to make friends with other people like him, and that no one cared. Like, good, I'm glad. No, he did not think some of those things were possible in that little house, in that religion, and in that part of his family. He literally never thought that he could get to live authentically and be okay. And you, all of these St. Stephen's humans, were a really, really big part of that. This part of the family, they get to stay. They're honorary St. Stephen's members, okay? As they showed up for Jason. At a high price. Some of the people sitting here had to make really difficult decisions within their family structure and dynamic. And they chose Jason. And so, y'all get to stay. Thank you for clapping for them. I'm almost done. Y'all be finished with me. In spite of losing everything that he knew for simply being him, he made new friends, spent time with his family that embraced who he was, even with the hurt in his heart from losing the others. And he gave faith a chance again. And Jason absolutely became the change that he wanted to see in this world. There is no better poster child for that saying. Jason did that every day. That's how he lived his life. I'm sharing all these things with you because I really want you to have some time to reflect on the greatness of Jay's life, but I want you to think about what a great man he was in spite of. In spite of the things that could have made him a bitter, terrible person, who could have made him never want to love, or to stick his neck out, or to embrace faith again. Jason was an amazing person, and every one of those things that I talked to you guys about at the funeral home. He was funny, and he was smart, and he was passionate about making sure everyone felt included and loved. Anytime I took him anywhere, whoever was there, always said to me how great it was to meet him. He made my life better, and I am better for having Jason in my life. I wouldn't be the me that I am today without Jason. Looking back over our time together, a few things have occurred to me. One is that Jason is the very definition of friendship. A huge part of my story and an integral part of the fabric of my adult life has Jason's name written all over it. Another thing that really struck me in the last week is that it seems like he was always racing a clock. Like, I met him when he was 21, and the first 21 years of his life had been over here. And then the next years of his life, it was like he was making up for everything that he didn't get to do, and every place that he didn't get to go, and every song that he couldn't sing or dance to. He was so quick to say yes. Has anybody in here ever heard Jason say no? Like, I sat down and thought about it. I thought about the times that I've heard Jason say no, and I can't come up with one. He was the first person to volunteer to go to a new restaurant with you, and it was like he was trying to fit as many experiences as possible into his short 49 years. Like, he knew that his time on this earth would be short. One of my very favorite things about him is that Jason wanted to be happy. And he actively chose happiness. And he pursued it most days. Everybody has a bad day now and then, but most days Jason looked to be happy and to find happiness in the world and be happiness in the world. There's a great video on YouTube called Pouring Happiness. You should all listen to it. Pouring Happiness by a guy named Ryan. It will be Jason for you, just like it is for me. The point of the video is about intentionality. And no matter what you do on this earth for a living, if you're retired, if you're whatever, you can be intentional about how you show up. Every single move you make, action that you take, and words that you speak can have intentionality behind them. No matter his job, no matter what was going on in his personal life, he chose happiness, and he wanted that for others. People will forget what you do for them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. I challenged you guys at the service earlier to be a light in the world like Jason. And I'd like to offer one more challenge to you in closing. Live your life intentionally. Think about the words that you're about to say out loud. Think about who's going to hear them. Think about who needs to hear them. Think about it for your friends and your families and your coworkers. Be thoughtful. Be nice. Look for ways to make the world a better place. And those actions don't usually happen by happenstance. They happen because of intentionality. And I think that was the other beautiful part of Jason, is that he wanted people to be happy. Okay, now y'all are finished with me.
Hi, I'm Marcy Corey, the Director of Music Ministries here. So I had the great privilege of having Jason in our choir and our bell choir. But I only got the second return to St. Stephen's. But I also got a long trip to Colorado with 13 teenagers behind me and Jason over here. So we made up a lot of time in that 12 whatever hour drive to Colorado and then back again. And it was an absolute joy and privilege to be with him on that trip. We met as a youth group this past Sunday, and we just shared stories about how much we all loved Jason and how much in that teeny tiny amount of time, the massive impact he had on not only the other adults that were on the trip, but the kids too. one of our favorite choir members, Benita Gorman, who is also a past director of music here, immediately reached out to some of our favorite composers. She knows everyone. And she does. There's a couple of really great composers out there that we love. Ken Medema is one of them. He writes some great music, very inclusive and wonderful stuff. And he immediately wrote a song for Jason. And went out to the Facebook page. Benita directed him out there, read through all the comments, talked to Benita and said, I'm writing this for free because this is an honor to write something for someone like Jason. And he's never really met him. But I'm going to play the song for you now. And I think you'll agree it'll be like he was there, standing next to Jason as he went through his life. And we'll have another song, hopefully, by Mark Miller on down the line. He's another one of our favorite people. But I'm going to play this for you now. Ken is blind now, so he can't transcribe his music. So we're just going to play the recording that he made singing this song that he's calling Jason's song.
I would ask that we all stand now and join hands. There's a tradition in this church that we sing a song called Draw the Circle Wide. And if you don't know it, that's okay. They're going to teach it to you as we go, as they taught me. But this is something that Jason loved to do and we all love to do. So. So as you go forth from this place, draw your circle wider to embrace all with the love that Jason demonstrated to each and every one of us. Go forth in love and in peace. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, and go next door.